Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending. It's a bit late during the day. Welcome to the only lighting panel discussion in the fair. Today, we're going to talk about lighting narratives, emotion and storytelling through light and interiors. We're going to talk you through a journey of lighting, is the emotional language of interiors, and how strategic layered of lighting can create an immersive place and a functional space. We have in this panel discussion a group of an expert in the field, globally and regionally. I'm going to start with myself. My name is Ahmed Bayashut. I'm a founder and design director of Studio A. We're a lighting design consultant based in Dubai. Then we have Carla, Lama, Walid, and Zaki, and I will let each one of them to give a brief introduction about themselves. We'll start with Carla.
Thank you for having me. I'm really delighted to be part of the panel. My name is Carla Wilkins. I'm with Lichtvision. I'm personally based in Berlin. We have a few offices like Hong Kong, Shanghai, London, Barcelona, and in Singapore, and Berlin, of course. And I'm a trained architect doing lighting since '89. And most important, next year I will be president of the ILD. And
Congratulations.
Please join us. It's the International Association of Lighting Designers.
Hello everyone, my name is Lama Aruri. I am the managing director of Studio and Lighting. We are a small lighting design studio, but we are a mighty one. We're part of a larger design practice, which is Nalty Lighting Design. I've been in the industry for the past 15 years. At different sites, from design, from manufacturing, from product design. So I've flipped the coin in different phases just to understand the industry. Very excited to be here, and hopefully this discussion will provoke your emotions to think about lighting in a different way.
Hi everyone, my name is Walid Fakusa, and I'm the principal and design director of CD+M Lighting Design Group. We're a Los Angeles-based lighting design company with offices in LA, Atlanta, Milan, Dubai, and Cairo. And I'm also the principal of Spectacle Design Studio. Nice to meet you all.
My name is Zeki Kadirbeyoğlu. I'm from Istanbul, Turkey. I'm an electrical engineer by profession, and I started my career, very interestingly, in Saudi Arabia in 1980s, being a site engineer for SPG Group for 2 years. And then I went back to Turkey and formed my first company, first design and sell, let's say, design and build company for lighting, Total Lighting. I managed that company for 16, 17 years. I think same with Carla, 1989. I started my company, and then in about mid of 2000s, I started my design studio, ZKLD, Light Design Studio, and I am very happy to be amongst all of you, all the industry professionals. You are all welcomed. I think you will enjoy our friendly talk. We are all from a very small community, and I am also ILD professional member since 15 years. So I'm very happy that Carla is becoming our president. So let's enjoy this talk. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Great to have you all here from different parts of the world. I'm going to start with an opening question that will be for you all. Like, lighting is always defined as functional, but in the same time is poetic. So how do you describe lighting narratives when you start a new project?
I think the lighting story is not always about the lighting. It is first to find a narrative and a content. So if you have studied the project, you studied the culture, you studied the function, and you look for a theme and develop a narrative. It's not like it is really like a storyboard, or it's like one image which catches the whole idea, and then you start from that. And I think this is universal. It's an international style you are doing it. It's not only in Saudi Arabia that we are looking for narratives. It's also in Germany. It is in the Asian part. But I think to have like a baseline, a storyboard, what you want to tell and what should be the visitor's experience, should be the guideline for the design.
It's so important to ask why. You know, that basic question of like, why are we designing this space? Before we think of how. And knowing the why and knowing the who would sort of drive the narrative of what will come next in terms of what will happen in terms of execution, product selection, all of that. This is the least important part of the creation, because when we create spaces, we create experiences, we create journeys, we create memories. And it's not just lighting, it's how the whole elements are narrated together, weaved together to create that beautiful symphony. So they flow, people flow within the space and understand the purpose of that space, the message behind that space. And this is where, you know, creating the storyline or the narrative comes from a basic question: why? Why are we creating this space?
For me, I think lighting is a really simple tool, but very powerful as well. So I think learning how to use it, how to really provoke emotions, how to curate journeys. I think this is primarily the success, but lighting only will not do its job on its own. You need materials, you need design, you need architecture, you need human behavior. There's so many things. So I think lighting on its own can go only so far. You have to understand the context of why I'm doing this and all the components that come together. So the more you know outside lighting, I think lighting becomes a really powerful tool. But when you try too much with lighting, I think it will be quite evident that the story is incomplete. That's really as simple as that.
Yeah, I think the context, of course, is very important, but we, lighting designers, our minds works in a different way. Regarding the location of the project, we are not like architects. Architects, they have a style. They might have their own intuition. They might have their own lines of work. But we adapt. We learn to adapt always to the context, to the project, to the design of very different architectures. And daytime, the human eye sees everything, but it's hard for the eye to choose something specific. You have a huge information coming to you through your eyes. But at night time, we choose what you want to show you. I mean, we put emphasis on some parts, we leave other parts at dark or transition. We use a lot of lighting control systems to balance these lights for the human eye. Regarding the location and the people, of course, we have to learn. We have to really study the regional look and demand of the people. If you are doing a project in Norway, you have to observe what to do. If you are doing a project in Riyadh or Vietnam, like you are doing, you have to really understand what people's needs, so you react accordingly.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I will start a question for Carla now. You're based in Berlin and working in Europe, but you work projects globally. So you've seen diverse culture context. How do you ensure that the narrative of light still feels original, authentic, not globalized? when you design for a specific region, like let's say for Saudi Arabia?
So it is really about, the first thing is to have an understanding of the needs. What you already mentioned is to hear, to watch, to study the culture, try to have a good understanding, ask the right questions, ask the design group, the design teams the right questions, ask the client. It's not like you get the package from the client. Ask the client if you have the right understanding of the brief, and this is not like the international brief, but at the end of the day, we have our toolbox, and we can use our toolbox international-wise very, very similar. It's only the little ingredients you give it a touch-up with material in discussions, if it is matte, is it shiny, where's the hierarchy, where's the structure, how is the viewpoint of the observer, what are the daily behavior of the function. So is it like Norway, they are really used to the dark, they have a completely different understanding to sunlight in the night than in the Middle East. Respect that. Try to do your research, and I think the most important thing is really listen and try to understand the roots of the culture.
Now coming to Lama, when mixing luxury with daily comfort and design, how do you turn the feeling like coziness, excitement, into actual lighting layers in the space?
It's a very good question. I might get a bit poetic about it, so bear with me. When you try to combine luxury with usability, it's our role as designers, and I'm not just saying lighting designers, I'm saying designers because the responsibility falls on the whole consortium of the design, the architects, the interior designer, the lighting, the acoustic, the audio, everything. Because if that harmony works together, then we are able to translate those abstracts into emotions, into memories, into journeys, into stories. And if you want to dive into lighting and think about it, how would we do that? If you want to think about comfort, you can think about soft lighting. If you want to think about excitement, you can think about a bit of a, contrast or sparkle. If you want to think about, for example, luxury or exclusivity, you have a punch of light, a pocket of light that gives you that luxury, or layers of shadow. So there are a lot of tools, but lighting alone won't work. We've got to weave then the strategy all together between architecture, interior, lighting, music, and this is why we all go through it. We got this beautiful restaurant. Everything looks fantastic. You're sitting there, but there's something bothering you. Something is not clicking. It's because the harmony between all the elements are not flowing organically, and this is where we drift away from that sense of luxury because we're not working on the harmony, and we could create beautiful layers of lighting that gives us that sense of sophistication and design and delivers that sense of luxury because it's purposed properly, it's focused properly, and it's paying attention, as Zaki was saying, to the elements that the interior designer wants you to focus on. And that provokes that sense of like that cognitive behavior in the users of the space that, wow, that fabric looks amazing, that artwork looks exclusive, my table has a special light, I feel special. So that sense of, collaboration between the different components, aside lighting, what gives that sense of luxury and translation to what we talk about expressions.
Now, Walid, in your work, like when you bring together the aesthetic part with the functional part and technical, how do you balance emotional storytelling with practical needs?
I don't.
Good one.
I think, right, these are very two different schools, all right? From one side, you cannot mix them, But once you build the knowledge and experience and portfolio of work over the years, one follows the other naturally. You design a space to feel good, to have a nice experience, to function properly. The operation side of it, the numbers, light levels, exact color temperature, that's all part of the ingredients, again, in your kitchen. Eventually, whether it's a fine dining restaurant, whether it's a school, whether it's a high-rise tower with a lot of media around it, it's just you create an experience that people feel comfortable, active, engaging, relaxed, and how that entails when it comes to light levels, and also that's beyond our understanding of the culture and the needs of people. That's a long studies of how all these things work. But it's when you understand the emotional part of it, when you are emotionally intelligent and put enough study to the background of your design, the numbers will only add up. Most of our successful projects didn't meet the engineering numbers. And it feels nice, and you cannot label it as ticks the box numerically, but the experience is nice. You don't go to a fine dining restaurant and you say it's bright enough. You say it feels nice. And this is the difference between successful design than just about the function.
Well, this is interesting what you're saying. I'm just going to add something. Once I was sitting with a client doing a residential, we just start kickoff meeting. And when he knows that I don't use dialogues for residential, he was shocked. Like, how come we have standard, we have to do the rooms 150 lux. Told him we don't. It's not about numbers. Said, you need to have, standard to follow, international standard that to follow. And I tried to, he's an engineer, I'm an engineer, so it's fine. He wants to know the numbers, it's very difficult, it takes time, and then until he was convinced what you were saying. Okay, now we go to Zaki. So your background, you're based in Istanbul, so you are meeting East and West together. So how does this culture, heritage, shape the way you design lighting to create immersion?
I mean, the world is getting smaller and smaller. The cities are that we live in. People now live in big cities more than rural areas. And if you look at modern cities, if you look at my hometown where I was born, when I was a kid, we didn't have any building higher than G plus 6 or 7. Now we have G plus 60s, 70s, 100s. And these buildings are designed by world famous architects. Also famous Turkish architects as well. So East actually meets West. So in these contextual cities that we live in, these cultures start to mix. We are in Riyadh. I've been coming to Riyadh for many years now. We see now change. The change will irresistibly happen. So it's hard, okay, when we design a project, very modern building, you look at the city, you look at the people, you look at the buildings around it, but still you want to bring something new to the city, to the people. In Dubai, we have so many buildings. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we didn't have any of them. So are we designing them according to the likes and usages or of UAE nationals? No. Okay, we are getting some glimpses. We are trying to connect. We try to make a connection together with the architect, together with the interior designer. I want to also mention one thing, addition, very similar to Walid, is that people cannot say, ordinary people don't say this place has a very nice lighting. They say we feel nice, we feel good. That is with the architecture, that is with the interior design, that is with lighting, that is with air conditioning, the blow of cold air to your face. Lighting adds a lot of good feelings to the space. And that is, if it's a very successful project, believe me, it's a big coordination and big collaboration with all the stakeholders. It's not only our thing. If we don't get right feedback from the architect or the interior designer, we cannot design it. So we need to be very good in collaboration.
Yes.
Can I make a comment? I think I have to comment that you, when you said like my most successful, it doesn't fit the numbers. I'm really convinced as a lighting designer, our basic is we are not only doing art. The art is really important, but we have a responsibility also to the numbers, and we are so skilled that we know how to follow the numbers. We got our checkbox, but we know how we can merge that it doesn't look like a lighting calculation and it says, yes, 500 lux. No, we can bring hierarchies, magic to it. And maybe we can educate our client and do with our design intelligence, explain to them, you can have your numbers, but you have that scene and it's on you. So we follow also, we deliver the numbers. And I think it is extremely important. If you don't deliver the numbers, you have to educate your client and you have to bring him on board. I personally, our insurance is not good enough to say like, numbers, who cares? Because you can be seriously in trouble. So I think the magic is to deliver both, being the engineer and being the designer who really thinks of it with your cultural intelligence and your design intelligence. Sorry, but I really had to do that.
Yeah, but if I add to that as well, the fact that now we have to adhere to a lot of sustainability measures, yeah? And then people like Hani earlier, they would come to you and say, oh, but you've got to check your X amount of load, your X amount of lux, your X. So there is still, as much as I like the art side of what we do, unfortunately, we always get grabbed back to the checklist, especially with the large-scale project that would require sustainability measures. We got dragged back into the engineering side of things. And I wouldn't say it clips our wings and creativity, but it's somehow, if the design strategy is done correctly, then the numbers should never be a worry because they will be achieved in a way or another, with a lot of education, of course, which really needed. But there's no one way of doing lighting design because every project has its unique conditions and unique requirements.
Well, that's good.
Off
Fire
topic,
chat. No,
off
I don't know.
I have something to comment, but let's keep on. Maybe
way
later if we have
off
time, so it's fine. So, Carla, for you, how do you approach the psychological impact of light, particularly in shaping moods and experience?
So I think it is all about all our senses. It's also not only the visible light, but also the non-visible light. It has the understanding how our senses are connected to an overall experience. And I think, and we said that already so many times, it is really teamwork with the complete project team. And it is really about, we are talking about narrative and storyline, but from visual media I learned it's nice to provide the tool, but at the end, it's important what is the content. And I think in terms of lighting design, we also not only providing the platform, we also have to deliver the content of lighting design, what is our content of visual experience and non-visual experience.
How lighting can shift the mood of a space, like let's say from daytime to an evening, or from social gathering to a private, without changing the architecture?
I'm gonna sound like I'm flexing muscles now. But lighting is the most powerful element that can transform a space without needing to change the interior or architectural component. 180-degree shift, and that's the power of having the proper layers of lighting, the proper strategy, the proper narrative of how you want to transform the space. You can compress it, you can make it wider, you can make it moody, you can make it active, you can trigger people's behavior to pass quickly through it or linger and stay longer. That's the power of lighting and proper layers of lighting and proper controls on a lighting project. And that what gives us that flexibility from a day scene to a night scene to an event scene to a gathering scene. And it's that intangible, powerful element correctly curated.
Okay. Walid, a question for you. You mentioned that in the introduction, and I have this for you. Can lighting design ever become too theoretical in storytelling, where tricks can overpower the supporting user experience?
I don't understand the question.
No. Can lighting design
I understand what you said, but tell me context to it, so it's simplified on the audience.
Okay, I'll simplify it for you. Can lighting design go too far in a place, okay, where it feels so theoretical, not a place that can, be usable and takes attention away from, instead of supporting the space? Can it be like the lighting overcome the place instead of helping and using the place?
Overuse of animation,
Contrast?
contrast, or lack of contrast, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I think for the most part, and I think it's a big part of the education and the movement of the industry to this region, which is now is not so young anymore. I mean, we're looking at probably 20 years of designers trying to put some effort. But in the grand scheme of things, lighting designers are involved, or people who know lighting properly, are involved in no more than, and I'm just throwing a number there, 1% of the projects out there. So this is really a very small percentage. And let's not talk about individual private projects, but I'm talking about on a city scale projects. Let's take Riyadh, for example. There are a lot of beautiful designs and a lot of not so beautiful designs, to put it nicely. But in any of the cities that have been evolved and developed properly, Berlin to some extent, Dusseldorf is a little bit more. Few other countries and cities understood the importance of curating the whole image of the city through the lighting of its buildings. So to answer your question and not go in circles around that, yes, in many cases it is overpowering, and it takes away from the aesthetics of the cityscape, the skylines, the brand of the company, and it's an evolution thing. There is a potential, there is hope, there are things getting better, but we're still far behind when it comes to being the majority of projects are complementing the identity of the project.
You gave a couple of names of cities that the lighting is. Do you have, like, let's say, the ideal city that looking for the lighting beside, like, I think this is the place, they did the lighting well and they're going in the right track? Maybe we can look.
Okay, that's a good question to ask. what I liked about Dusseldorf, the example I mentioned, that they banned the blue lights in the whole master plan around 15, 17 years ago. So no blue light were allowed in architecture projects at all. And this was a very good, empowering message to people, like, you cannot do whatever you want. We have an identity as a city, we have a character we have to maintain and respect. So this is one of the places I respect it when it comes to regulation put properly in place. Where else I can find it interesting? I like in general lighting in Scandinavian countries, but again they are trying to go on the opposite side of the equation, which light really what is always needed or almost needed. But off the top of my head, is there a specific city as a whole that seems impressive? I think I have a couple of beautiful examples in Tuscany, for example, in Italy. I think there are a lot of good smaller towns that they took care of the lighting and the quality of it. There are no decoloration, there is no different colors between different buildings. There is an overall hierarchy that you need to maintain as a language. So yeah, it is doable. Point is that it's doable. You don't have to be a small town, but you need to have a good, strong council that understand impact of lighting, the identity of the city, because this is one of the things we hear also. We want also sustainability. We want it to be dark sky compliant, or we want it to be energy efficient, etc., in a place that it is not possible to do so. So it would not make any sense. So again, back to the context. Why I'm doing this? What's the purpose of it? Dubai, for example, people refer it as the Las Vegas of the Middle East. You cannot consider it as a dark sky compliance, or you cannot have it an extreme energy efficient city when it comes to nightlife, for example. So it will be contradictory to the whole thing. So you have to put the whole thing in context, understand how people will perceive this, and build a strategy around it.
Comment?
Carla, you have a question? Let's do it.
Sorry.
We have 8 minutes, so we have another question.
We have this 8 minutes. We'll take it.
Yeah, it can be really quick. I completely agree. Coming from Europe, this is one extremely positive thing what happens. There are these council, and I think it's not one lighting designer does the full master plan. No, it is like you hire a group of lighting designers, they do a council with urban planners, with architects together, they give a strategy. It's not like rule by rule, like LPDs, so you have to do the checkup. So you give like a general rule, you want to have a general understanding of the city. And I think this could be something which is new for Riyadh. Or I know they do it for boroughs, but they are not doing it on a large scale. And the speed in the city is so quick that which was a borough outside is once in a sudden it's inside. So it's worth it to have or to establish such a council. And I completely agree. And my only advice is allow exceptions. There are always, and this is special about lighting design, you have your rules, but give the space to have new interpretations, because things change. There will be a future, there will be new impacts, and leave that space that you can merge it. Don't make the rules too strong, because we could have a boring world afterwards. Sorry.
Okay.
I just want to give to the audience 3 examples that are actually very far from these lands, and most of you probably has not seen these cities. Kazakhstan Astana, Turkmenistan Ashgabat, and now Uzbekistan Tashkent. These 3 cities, capitals actually, are really planning their night light Azov City. I did a lot of work in Astana because they became the capital in 1991, nearly 35 years ago. And we had to go to the city architect, also the architect, Ivan Foster, doing the Han Shutters, the biggest tent project, had to go and present his work to the city architect, and they made a maquette and they put it in a scale room where all the maquettes of the buildings are there. We had to present our night image to the city architect and get his approval. I can also say same thing for Baku. Baku is also very planned. But there are cities in the world, emerging cities. Really, they plan for their night image, night identity. So it's coming, it's happening. These are small cities, by the way. They are around a million and a half, not like here. So everything is controlled. Is it good or bad? It's under discussion, okay. But at least you go to that city and everything is nice. Astana is nice. Of course, Ashgabat is very different. You go to one person, the president. He checks everything. You know, without his approval, you cannot do a structure. So, yeah.
But there are organizations like Lucy, so there are already organizations who try to support cities with that, and I only can recommend that, and I think it would be a great movement for Riyadh or for Saudi Arabia if they look at their metropolis and do master planning, and because this is a country where they always ask, and what is the wow? Where's the Guinness Book of Records? And of course we can do the Guinness Book of Records in light pollution, but we are responsible, so I think to have like a guideline for everyone, also for the clients, could be fantastic.
Okay.
Guideline is good. To have a guideline is better than not to have.
Well, actually, now
it's a good
there are
thing.
guidelines for specific areas, like working in Al Ola. Most of you
But
we worked.
That's the thing. We have two extreme guidelines. You've got the dark sky with the no lighting to the highest polluted cities in the world. And where do you fit in between? Because we receive a lot of requests to adhere to dark sky on the parameters of Riyadh. How do you achieve that? The light pollution spills beyond, and this is where, as Carla was saying, we need to find gradually a middle way to be able to get to the end result of being more conservative, but jumping from the perception of the brighter the better to the darker to the is better is such a vast spectrum, and it takes education, not just about the architects and engineers, it's culture. The culture in Middle East, for example, in GCC, it's a bright culture. We love light in this part of the world. We like things that are bling bling, that are so, bigger, better, brighter, etc. So it's a shift in behavior, in mindset, from people, from governance, from designers. It's a full spectrum.
Yeah, I agree with that, but don't forget that we cannot have whatever implemented, like for example Scandinavia, they like everything is soft, very like subtle. Here we have a lot during the day, it's so bright, so at night people want to imitate that. I grew up with I think 6,000K in our houses, and you tell them now to shift. I mean, most of the people here
Exactly.
in Saudi,
It's very cultural.
literally.
It's very cultural.
So convincing the families, like especially our generation, to move from 6,000K to 3,000K, it's a big challenge, but it's happening right now. We almost have 1 minute. I just have like one question for all, just a quick question. So where do you think lighting design is heading? Towards more subtle mood or more immersive experience?
So this is the view to the future, and I think there is no one thing. I think it is both. It is on us to decide where we are using which emotion. If the full life is an immersive space, I'm in Disney World or in Las Vegas and I'm triggered the whole time. I want also my comfy zone. So I think if we can have these guidelines or we can design the world that we have areas where we can experience that, and then we have also areas where we can experience the other way. I think that is, we have to take decisions.
Anybody want to add something?
I don't think it's about one or the other. It's, as Carlos said, eventually it depends on when and where and what we will implement either or together. So it's not a choice or pick one and move on. It's like we would need both scenarios, if not more scenarios.
Your question is globally or in Saudi Arabia?
Within region.
Okay. Region or Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, the region you
specific.
see, Saudi Arabia, I can say it.
Okay, because this is very different, all right?
Yeah.
Because whatever Saudi is doing right now, it is very different than anywhere else is, right? And there is a lot of praise to that, but there is a lot of risk associated with it. Because there is a lot of testing to success of projects, how people will perceive new experiences. So I think you will see a sinus effect of how the trends are going and how people are perceiving. So I think in the near future, I think it is not very promising, because there is a lot of let's do what is most buzzing, most trendy, most flashy, most powerful headlines. But I think once we pass this wave, I think it will find a nice balance and equilibrium that fits within places where it requires dark sky, where it requires a balance between both, where it requires entertainment. But I believe the future definitely will be more on the experiential side, because we all tend to learn more, but I think we are going through a wave of mistakes before we get to knowing really where we're going to head to.
Let's call it the learning curve.
It is.
It's a trial and error.
I totally
Yeah.
agree with Walid, but I have one wish, let's say, to make the control easier in the future. So when time comes and they want to change, there's one technological tool which they must use today. They must use enhanced lighting control systems. So when they comes, they can go down with their lights, maybe centrally. This can be done. The infrastructure can be done very easily, like China cities did it. So, because now there will be a race. I want my building next door, I want better than him. My building has to show better, do it better. But that race, in one day, we had a lot of race and we had a Las Vegas. So how are we going to go back from that? So in order to, you cannot change, so you have to adapt. There are ways to adapt, so one last word, hire professionals for the job. Okay.
Yes. Okay. We're almost out of time. Maybe one question or two from the audience. Anybody have a question?
We all know that the whole experience of light is visual. We basically see light. But I was wondering, and that's because of a research I was working on, is it possible that someday lighting could be something more than we can just see, that even visually impaired people or blind people can see it, can feel it, actually? So yeah, thank you.
The question you asked, you have to redefine what is the visual impact. A blind person feels the light. It's not it doesn't have to be just a black area. Might be there are some blind people who only can see shadows. So and there's a huge impact of non-visual spectrum. So I think that is one important thing, that we as a lighting designer not only should be limited on our visual spectrum, but also on the non-visual spectrum, and about the impact on health of lighting. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Good. I think we have to close now. Thank you everyone for attending, and it's been lovely. And yeah, good night.